hates me, by the way.
Oh, does she?
She does. She really does.
It's good. I'll catch up. The last session was really good.
All right, good afternoon. This special meeting of the Governing Board is now called to order. Let the record show that we have 4 board members present. And before we adopt the agenda, I just want to make a quick little change here under item 3. A and B, we're just going to switch those two. So B, which is legal advice, will come before A, which is the student disciplinary proceeding. So with that, I will need, are there any changes besides that? No? Okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. And Ms. Pimentel is not here with us for this part of the board meeting, so we will need to approve an acting clerk.
I'll volunteer for clerk.
Okay, I'll need a motion.
I'll move that Ms. Bartels is the clerk.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, we are at item 3, the executive session. At this time, the governing board will consider voting to recess a special meeting in order to convene to executive session for the following purposes. I'm just going to read them in order here. A, student disciplinary proceeding in accordance with ARS 38-431.03, Article 2, and ARS 15-843 for the discussion and consideration of the hearing officer's recommendation regarding the district administration's proposed expulsion of student number 2019424, and B, legal advice in accordance with ARS 38-431.03, Article 3, to obtain legal advice from the attorney for the public body regarding student disciplinary proceeding pertaining to student number 2019424.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the reasons stated.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we hear one from you, Mr. Aldama?
Oh, aye.
Okay. Motion passes.
That is
Student disciplinary proceedings in executive session as permitted by Arizona law. Therefore, there is no need to take action pursuant to the agenda item 5A. So I will need then a motion to adjourn our special meeting.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We're going to take a short recess, and we will be back at 6.
she's like, do we have it? I'm like, oh.
You have the presentation, right?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being so patient. This regular meeting of the Governing Board is now called to order. Let the record show we have 5 board members present. And, why don't we start out with a moment of silence? I think it's kind of needed. We've had some strange happenings, and so... Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda? No? Okay, I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. I don't believe we have any call to the public, so, or a special recognition. So we're going to move right to our consent agenda. And are there any items that board members would like pulled?
Can I just make a comment on that? Because the first item in there, it was mislabeled on the cover sheet. So just a correction noting that it's the vouchers, not the gifts and donations.
Okay. All right.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, item 6 is our reports and information items. We have our superintendent's progress report.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I'm happy to present to you my first 90 days. I'm going to move down to present that. You received last Friday my superintendent's report, and so what I've done is simply taken that report and revised it into a PowerPoint and kind of went over the highlights of what that report is. So feel free to stop me at any time. I was looking for my pointer. Thank you. There we go. So tonight I'll present to you the progress towards the goals that I have identified for the year. I have 2 strategic goals and 3 personal goals. Each of my goals, everything that I've done surrounds academic achievement, whether we're talking about financial solvency, community partnerships, communication with the governing board, everything impacts student achievement. So that's what the progress towards is you're going to see this evening. My goal is just to review them. Strategic goal was ensure financial solvency. Strategic goal 2 was to ensure the academic growth of ELL students in English language arts. Personal goal 3 was to ensure collaboration with the governing board. Personal goal 4 was to ensure the community partnerships in all schools. And then personal goal 5 was to ensure the safety and security of all school buildings. During these first 90 days, typically your superintendents do a 90-day timeline of what they want to accomplish. I'm in a little different situation because I'm an internal, so I didn't have to do some of those, go out and introduce myself to the board and get to know you because I've had a relationship with you at a different level for 3 years. So my approach to 90 days was a little bit different. What I did do, I looked at some of the critical issues within the school and the community that I've understood for the last 3 years and thought about some of the procedures that are in place and how we run the organization. And is there anything that we can do better? Are there things that I need to leave alone? Are there things that I need to bring to you that we need to think about how to do differently and more efficiently? The next thing I was working on was obviously goals for improvement based off data. All my goals would be based off the data that I've looked at, whether it was how many partnerships we have in the community as well as academic achievement. So my goals were based off that. Other thing was important to me was really to establish a presence in the community to ensure confidence across all constituents. Not that I wasn't present in the community as an assistant superintendent, I was, but as a superintendent, it's very important that I am the face of the district and the community knows who I am. So that was a focus for me. It was important to still be visible and approachable in schools, to develop positive board relationships, and to review and adjust policy development and oversight. And that's something that, as I mentioned early on in the year, we have board policies that we need to bring to you. that need to be updated, and we're working on that continuously, and we've already brought some of those to you. And then the last one we wanted to look at was market the district. That's been a focus of mine for a lot of reasons. One, there's a lot of good things going on in Glendale, and we can always do better at marketing ourselves. But because we are faced with declining enrollment, and what is it that we can do to attract any students that we may have lost, but also to attract any student that would like to come and be a student in Glendale Elementary School District. So those are the areas of my focus for the first 90 days or so. The first goal was to ensure the financial solvency. And in your report, I have provided for you exactly the summary of the work, and I've summarized the key points there, and then you have the artifacts, and then you also have my next steps. What I'm just going to do here is just highlight those important things, that we continue to increase the reserves. Currently, as of 1 year worth of reserves, we have that. In the last 10 years, the district has earned over $1.4 million in interest, and 51% of that in the last 2 years. The self-insurance fund is healthy, and it's no longer flirting with insolvency. We are receiving building renewable grants continue. We filed for them. We again filed for 4 more were approved again today. And so we continue to do that. As a result of declining enrollment, we have to look at those inequities in our staffing models. We've had conversations about that. That's inclusive upon, we need to look at decompression, salary decompression, and we are beginning to have those conversations. What we have done, it's important that we are transparent. So a budget overview meeting was conducted with our Superintendent Parent Advisory Council that was established this year. That first meeting was in September, and we have another one Tuesday. So the budget was presented to that parent group. Those parents that represent each school were to go back and present information that they received that night. And then also we presented at coffee talks at the sites overall the budget as well. So we're informing our community that way. In addition, we have a marketing plan that's underway. We have partnered with Grand Canyon University, and we hope to have that campaign launch in January. We just met with them this past week, and we will share with you in a board update some of the next steps that are occurring, but that campaign will launch in January. The next step is to ensure that financial solvency is occurring is 2019-2020 budget summary meeting. The first one is scheduled for tomorrow. We picked that date on purpose because, as you know, Tuesday was the election, and the latest numbers, even though everything is not official, the unofficial just an update again came from the county at 5 o'clock this evening, and it still shows we're up 100 votes on the bond, and we've passed override and bond. So now that's remarkable. We are so grateful to our community and for the work that those did to help promote that. So that meeting takes place tomorrow with the executive team. We have an all-day meeting to start looking at. We're pretty confident it will continue. The numbers will continue to go in the right direction. So that leads us to some really difficult conversations. We know we have declining enrollment, so what are we going to do about that? Our staffing models, if you're a school that has 900 students and you're a school that has 500 students, you're staffed the same, and that's an inequity, so we need to address that. Also, we need to look at those schools that are continuing to decline and what can we do. We're also faced with, we know that we have buildings. Now we have hopefully money to do building renewals, but how much money do we put into those schools if we have a declining enrollment? So those conversations have to take place. We'll begin to have those as the executive team. We'll share those with administration. We'll also have study sessions with the governing board because there will be some difficult decisions we'll have to make. Ongoing financial study sessions, as I just mentioned, to address some of these areas, and then again, hoping once we make these decisions, what can we do to still market the district to attract people, even though. Mr. Berrigan and I met again this afternoon. We conducted already, and a lot of our data was based off a demographic study. He is going to have another demographic study done, and so we'll have fresh data as well. During this past week, and last week and during this week, I met with Catholic Charities in partnership with Head Start. They also had done a demographic study, and we knew that one of the things we shared with you earlier was that there is a declining birth rate in Glendale. So they did one in 2016, which shows in the city of Glendale that the birth rate is rising at that time, which is true. Those children just aren't 5 yet, so that's why we have the decline. So when I was meeting with them, it was like, wow, we know that Glendale has their birth rate has increased. That's because of my baby campaign, I'm pretty sure. But I said they were kind of surprised that we were declining, but it's because those kids, someone said, oh, well, they're only 2, and so absolutely when they're 5, and that's why we see some of those. For example, I think Jack and Menzendick is a good example. Jack declining, but Menzendick still rising, so those are examples of that. All right, so that's for goal number 1. Goal number 2 was to ensure the academic growth for ELL students in English language arts. And for this goal, I'm talking about every English language learner that we have. We have 1,932 current English language learners. In the 3-8 setting, because that's where we have AZ Merit, there are 976 of those students. When we looked at the data, it was very specific at overall district and site level data that 89% of the ELL students are minimally proficient compared to 56% of non-ELL students. When you look at DIBELS data, at our primary grades, that shows 73% of the ELLs are intensive compared to 41% of their non-ELL students. And then we just looked at first quarter benchmarks, and it shows 89% of ELLs are minimally proficient in ELA compared to 49% in non-ELL status. So it's very concerning to me that our English language learners, there's a lot of factors we know. You can't say a child that is labeled on language proficiency as a pre-emergent child should be highly proficient or proficient on the academic side, but the concern is when we looked at the data, we have many of our English language learners who are intermediate students who've been in the program for years, and they're not making the gains that they need to at the rate of their non-ELL students. So that's very concerning to me, and so that's why I chose that as one of my goals. I'm also just going to say that's true of our other diverse populations, but my focus this year would be English language learners as one of my goals, but still with the other populations, we're looking at those as well. So some of the things that I've done since then that we're looking at, classroom walkthroughs have been conducted with a focus on instructional practices. I'm walking every English language learner classroom with principals. Professional development for teachers and administrators took place in September and October. Further professional development is being planned through Dr. Peterson and Kravaya and his team. Changes in program support have been developed. District and site action plans have been developed to support these goals. We'll start quarterly reviews next week, I believe. They're on my calendar to meet with the principals and Dr. Peterson and Kravaya, and we've asked them to have an action plan to address the progress of English language learners. So that's what's taking place in that goal. The next steps, as I've said, we'll look at those action plans, we'll monitor quarterly benchmarks, and we'll continue to provide English language development, professional development. Goal number 3 was to ensure collaboration with the governing board. So as I came on board as a superintendent, individual meetings with board members took place at the onset of that transition. We had a study session where we conducted and established the roles and expectations of any systems of mutual accountability. We talked about board norms, we developed board norms, we developed collective commitments, and they were approved by the governing board. We've also talked about procedures for refining communications. They were established, a document was created for tracking those agenda items. We shared that at a board meeting ago. Numerous board policies have come to you, and we've approved those, made those changes. I've attended conferences with the board members to further develop my relationship with you and engage in new learning with you as well. So that's what's happening on that goal. My next steps for that would be to continue to provide timely communications to the board, schedule study sessions, and attend board learning conferences with you as well. The communications, I put in there timely. You know, I can't get ahead of social media. I just can't. I've tried and I'm not winning. But I try to get those to you as quickly as possible and through either a text message or an email, and it seems to work all right, and I'm always open to suggestions for that. Then goal number 4, ensure partnerships in schools. So we've always had good partnerships. Our principals do a remarkable job with that. Currently, we have 10 new partnerships have been developed since July 1 to support students, teachers, and families. A superintendent's parent advisory council was developed to inform and represent parent perspectives and ideas and voices on educational matters. The first meeting was in September. We focused it on marketing the district. I did give them homework, and on Tuesday they'll bring their projects back. They were to create posters that would help us with the campaign of marketing the district, so we're excited about that. I know some have been calling Liz and Brittany about what are all the guidelines and what pictures can I use, so we're excited to have them on Tuesday evening. They'll be back to share with us. I've attended numerous community events that have occurred. I've tried to get to, you have your artifacts of all the ones that I've been at so far. I tried to capture them all. Articles have been published in the Glendale Star. There's one in there today. If you didn't see it, there's a full page. Mr. Cummings and I worked on that. He crafted it. It was beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Cummings. I don't know if you saw that it came out today, but it was there. We were excited about that. We've also started to do radio advertisements, have aired with Univision. We had a meeting scheduled with them, I believe, this week, but there was a conflict with Univision, so we'll continue to partner with them to get it out to our bilingual communities. A variety of reports and information and items for staff and community are posted weekly on the district website, and the superintendent has created a Twitter account. I know some of you look at that and tweets on a regular, I've not made mistakes, I don't think, on a regular basis to inform the community in an effort to market GSD. So that's just something else that's been done. Next steps in that area is continue to expand those partnerships. I have some really great ideas that I want to do. I need to make some connection with some business people. I've got some things, I know I scare staff when I think of things I want to do, but it's good for kids, so I'm excited about that. Continue to be visible in the community and schools and monitor the current partnerships that we do have for success, and really kind of think of ways in which we can recognize those in a public setting as well, because we do have a lot of great partnerships. Goal number 5 is to ensure the safety and security of all school buildings. That's very dear to me, and probably most what keeps me up at night. The superintendent has established a superintendent's leadership team to develop a district emergency operation plan. We call that EOP. We are required by Arizona Department of Education to have one on file. 3 meetings have occurred. All school lockdown plans have been reviewed, and feedback was provided to all sites. All schools have submitted calendars for lockdown practices and drills. Fire hose sleeves have been purchased for all classroom doors. Those are those sleeves we've talked to you about before, where they go at the top of the door so that in case an active shooter event is taking place, the door is secure and they can't get in. All school and district optimal security floor plans have been updated, so in the event of something catastrophic, we know where everything is on that campus and where to find and locate everybody. All administrators completed a second leadership assessment to assist in the development of the EOP. Attendance at the ESA Safe, Secure, and Welcoming Environment training occurred in October. That conference, when I left that conference 2 weeks ago, Dr. Peterson and Carvalho and Ms. Valdez attended with me, and it made me very nervous when I left that conference, because there's so many things that we need to do better and things that we need to get in place. So we are working very hard on that. We will complete the emergency operation plan draft and present that to you in December. We will then share that, part of that will be completed in December, and you'll see some of that come through board updates, but the draft will be shared with all stakeholders in January. We'll present the complete plan in February, and then we will submit it to ADE. ADE has a template you are to use, but the template is not complete at this time, or nor do we have access. We have the old one, but it's very comprehensive. So you're talking about, if you know on your artifact that I shared, and the administrators in the audience know what I'm talking about, because we went through this with them at the last systems meeting, and they just went through the hazard assessment worksheet, and they had to identify of those items listed, what was the probability of it occurring, and then what were the potential consequences of that. And so that will be included into our plan. Some of that is dependent on your school, you know, everything kind of different. There's some things that would differ from campus to campus, but most of it is all the same. Some of the top things for them that they had mentioned that could possibly happen would be, this is interesting when I looked at the information, but one of the things, you know, we talked about floods, severe heat, dust storms, those types of things. But one of them that most all sites marked was animals. So I don't know why, but I guess it's stray animals on campus. So that was something that they had marked on theirs. And then, of course, we don't want to ever have to be faced with the others, but we have to be prepared in case there is an active shooter on campus. When I attended the training with my colleagues, it was from a retired #1 position SWAT leader, and he was very clear to the superintendents in that room that, unfortunately, one of us will experience an active shooter on one of our campuses, and it's important that we be prepared. The most important thing he said, we know it costs money. Some school districts have more money than others, and they have bulletproof glass. You know, we don't have that. One thing he said, that there are things you can do without money, and that is to lock all your exterior doors. And we've asked our classrooms to be locked on the exterior, because if at least you're locked, people can't get into it. He taught us different things about what to do to barricade. Found out we were probably barricading the wrong way. I think Jerry and Debbie and I were like, oh my goodness, because we've always seemed to be, if the door is there, then we would take the group of kids and we'd move over to the back in the corner, and then you just become a sitting duck. So you should barricade at the door so that when they come in, someone can tackle and then everybody else runs out. So some of those things we talked about, just interesting types of things. As parents and as community, something they said to us, you know, we all do joke about social media, but we really need to make sure the cell phones are off, and as parents, we should not be texting our kids to see if they're okay, and we all would do that. I would do that, but we shouldn't do that, because that then prevents the child from saving their own life. So he was just a matter of fact about things. So it was very, very interesting. So this one is most concerning to me, just because where we are, we've seen lately active shooters on campuses. He was very clear to us that they're going to get on the campus. What you need to do, the most important thing you do, is to teach your staff and your students and your community what to do in the event that that happens. So we want to have, where do we relocate? Where's the reunification at? Obviously, when we develop those plans, some things will not be shared with the public or the governing board, because some of that stuff needs to remain confidential so it doesn't get out. And so we are working on that, and we'll follow all the guidelines required by ADE, and then we'll share everything that we can share at that time to keep our community safe, our students safe. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of those for you. I would like to say it has been my pleasure and honor to serve as your superintendent for these 90 days. It is such a responsibility, and I'm quite honored to do that, but there's much work ahead of us, and I look forward to that. But thank you again for this opportunity.
Madam President, if I may. What's the name of that TV show? My wife watches it all the time. It's called, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, So You Want to Be a Star? So the contestants come out and sing, and then the people turn their chair around.
Oh, yeah. The Voice. The Voice.
The Voice.
Oh, I can't sing, Mr. Aldama.
Well, I'm not going to make you sing. What I want to say is, 2 minutes into your presentation, I was ready to push that button, because you've done an exceptional job today. You've lined out everything. Your communication has been great. Your attendance in community events have been fantastic. I'm hearing great things about what you're doing. Your 90 days have been higher than I ever expected them to be. So I thank you so very much. If I had that button, I'd push it right now.
Thank you. It's my honor to serve.
Really, really well. So I'm honored to be a school board member along your side, leading this school district for this community.
Thank you, Mr. Aldama.
Yeah, I wanted to make a similar comment. When we were out at one of the community forums, we had the lieutenant for the police, and he said, oh, I've met your superintendent, and we're really grateful that you're out there going to the coffee with the cops. And, so that's just an attribute that you've, brought to the district. It's really been nice that you are out there, and they are noticing you out there. And appreciate your report, and it was thorough, and it did have just what we needed to have as evidence. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we're sure glad you created a Twitter account.
That's one of the most nerve-wracking things. Ask anybody that when I'm tweeting, are you done yet? No, I'm not. I got to make sure it's perfect and I've done everything correctly. But it does connect you to the community. People do see that. And again, it's my pleasure, and I do have an incredible staff. They're all sitting right here. They're all sitting out in the audience. It's not just the superintendent, it's each of those people out there, and I applaud my administrator so much. Thank you for your support.
Yes,
I have
very informative.
one last comment. You're on page 2, the summary of work and strategic goals ensure financial solvency. I love this document. This is, I believe I've asked to look at something, to have something like this for many years. This is at the bottom where it says artifacts. That's something that should be posted on our website for our community to see. That's what I've been asking. Our community needs to know where we are, kind of the state of the school district, right? This gives them a glimpse of where we are, our budget, our expense to date, our encumbrances, and the budget balance. This is great. This is fantastic. I love this document.
Thank you, Mr. Aldom.
Madam President, Mrs. Scott Jones, thank you.
Thank you.
You are 90 days. You would have thought you were doing this for the last 360 days. And I know you've created some of this prior to becoming superintendent, but excellent job, and thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. We are moving on then. Well, we don't have any action items, so we'll move on to 8, which is our discussion item, Board Policy BEDB Agenda.
Okay, the governing board, wait a minute, where are we at? 8A?
I should have given you a few minutes.
Oh, discussion 8A, I see. Okay, board policy BEDBG. Agenda, the governing board will discuss and provide direction regarding potential revisions to board policy BEDB agenda. Okay, on A, then we have the proposed agenda, and then you'll also have the current.
So these changes were in response to our discussion of kind of moving some of the information up ahead so we get that and can kind of think of questions so that when we get to that point of the item later on in the meeting, we have that opportunity.
Yes. Remember, the blue is new and the red is old, or, yeah, red is dead.
Okay, so what we're seeing at the front is the current order that we
Right.
have. And then
The
now,
next
is
is the
this
proposed.
just suggested, or is it,
It's recommended by ASBA.
it's recommended? Do you recommend it?
Yeah, that's your decision, the order in which you want.
The only thing that I kind of didn't like, I like that there's that information piece brought up to the beginning, but I didn't like that it didn't allow us to ask questions at that time.
I don't see any thing wrong with the way we have ours now. The call to the public in the ASBA one is at the end, which is, I think, a little strange.
No, it was right after that information. To me, the way I've looked at it was, let's say you have a hot ticket item that's on your agenda. You get that information there first, and if we change this to where we can ask some questions at that time, then when you have your public comments right after that, those people have the opportunity to maybe ask some more questions.
But we can't respond.
Right, we can't respond to, but when we get to that item later in the agenda, then we can, we can ask those questions and have discussion at that time. I think it does allow a little more time to kind of let it simmer a little bit and think about it. And
Well, we've done that before. We've moved things around when we felt that it was needed. Move something up to the front. We can always do that. We don't have to do it all the time, but I don't know. Either way, I don't know. It doesn't bother. Either way doesn't bother me. I think kind of
May I ask
silly
a
to spend too much time on it.
clarifying question? Who's you may
ASBA,
okay, they're recommending the changes?
yeah.
Anybody want to talk about it, or should we just move on?
Come on.
I'm good with moving on.
Ms. Smith?
Yeah, let's just move on for now.
Okay.
I'm good, the way it is.
All right, then we're at B, Board Policy BEDBA, Agenda Preparation and Dissemination.
So the governing board will discuss and provide direction regarding potential revisions to board policy BEDBA, agenda preparation and dissemination.
Questions, discussion? I think this just took out the wordiness of,
Compacted it,
yeah, that's,
made it more simple.
took out that long paragraph there.
So, the way in which we place items on the agenda is different than what the policy says here, so, I mean, yeah.
We
can
need to
change
make
that
them
anytime,
match.
But they don't match
Yeah,
at all.
and we just had a lengthy discussion at our last meeting on this very item.
Right.
I mean, I'd prefer to do it this way, because it gives everybody the opportunity. The other way,
Right.
this is actually a better policy to follow.
All right, any other discussion? Okay. All right, then we are at our future meetings and events. So at this time, the governing board will review the list of upcoming board meetings and potential agenda topics, and anything that you want to possibly have.
And December
That we
5th is a Wednesday, correct?
Yes.
Just so everybody remembers that it's Wednesday,
Yeah,
not
did everybody
Thursday.
get that? Because of
Our next meeting is on, when is that? What's our next meeting?
December 5th.
December 5th.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be here all by yourself,
There's one on the
Special meeting
20th.
with
eating that turkey.
That's right. So I got a special meeting with that.
What school is he
All right.
Madam President, I know I had mentioned it once, and Mr. Aldama mentioned it as well, the census. And I'm wondering if there's a way that we can do some kind of community forum to inform parents about the importance of the census? Or is that something that's outside of our scope? I think it's important that the community understands the census and what the purpose of the census is, because it's especially important this year, I feel. It's changed a lot, and we kind of depend on it for money in the district. So I'm just wondering if that's something that we can do as a community forum to help the parents understand the importance.
In my past experiences with that, I know that for example, some of the parent coffee talks, an organization came in, I don't remember which organization that was, that did some things with census. I would like to get legal counsel and then see what we can do.
Okay.
And then what is the best way to address that.
Great.
Because I couldn't tell you. I know it's been done through parent coffee talks in the past.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, so if you could, when you find out, I don't know that there's any legalities that prevent you from doing that, but safe way is the best way. That if we find a pathway to do so, that we research and find an organization that's nonpartisan that will present, I'm sure you're knowledgeable in it as well, but an organization that is nonpartisan just and can present to the community.
Yeah, we had, when my first go around here,
Can I
I was at
interrupt?
Burton and we had it, and I
This
can't
isn't on
remember
the
what it was.
agenda.
No, we were discussing, is there any items we want to discuss?
bring on the
up,
agenda.
any subjects?
Bring up on future meetings.
Yeah, but
So
I
we can
think we're.
But now we're kind of having discussion.
Yeah,
having a
let's just,
discussion.
yeah, we'll just, let me get legal counsel to make sure.
All right. Anything else on here that you want to talk about? Okay. Nope. All right. All right, let's go ahead to our summary of current events. Mrs. Sagata Jones.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, a couple things going on, many things going on. I'd like to announce that Transportation is conducting their turkey drive. It will end this week, so if you have next week, I'm sorry. If you have turkeys, you can bring them to district office or you can drop them off at Transportation. We do have Ames Ranch, we talked about, that's why we changed the board meeting in December. We met with Ames Ranch, the members of their promotional team, and we're excited. American Discovery and Coyote Ridge will be part of the Ames Ranch Christmas presentation gala, just a great thing for kids. So that will be taking place. Kiwanis, I attended Kiwanis, and we always do the Kohl's back to school. They had some additional funds, and they would like to do something. I recommended if it would be possible to do a coat drive and tennis shoe drive, because in winter we don't have coats. They are more than happy to do that. So Liz and I are getting numbers from our schools, and we'll do a coat drive for identified students and a tennis shoe drive. Also, we've had one of our new partnerships is with Grand Canyon University and Thunder Vision, where all of our 8th graders are being, they travel to Grand Canyon University, and they get to have a tour of the university and talk about what it's like on the university, and just help them to be exposed that there are avenues in which they can further their education at the university level if they should choose to do so. This past week, we have them arranged on Wednesdays, and this past week, Landmark attended, and so each school will have an opportunity to attend throughout the year. As I kind of mentioned in my presentation, Head Start Catholic Charities reached out to us looking for some different types of partnerships. They have a grant that's coming out where they could do some expansion, and so we're working with them to see what we can do to help support that, so we're excited about that. Also, I attended on Halloween, the Peter Piper at 43rd and Glendale did a community event where they invited all of our community kids into their location. They gave them tokens, and as Dr. Peterson and Kabaya and I were there, almost every school was represented. It was wonderful to be out there and see the parents and the kids, so we appreciate that partnership, and for our principals for getting that information out to us. Something that we launched, I thought we'd have time in between meetings today, but we didn't, but another time we will. We had our first, we have a parent hub here on the premises. You've seen me, I've tweeted about that yesterday. Miss Mealy and her team, Miss Rivera, have been working on that. It's a beautiful little room, and they did their first art play for children to come, and they talk about, they did these wonderful, I think Mr. Cummings has it up on the website. He took some pictures of that. They did a turkey race out of the turkeys they made, but it's really to help kids through art and learn about their social emotional. So that was exciting. So please join us. It's again next Wednesday at 10. So that's exciting. And all that is grant funded. So we're excited about that. Friday, that's tomorrow. American is doing their annual tribute to our American vets, so we're excited about that. And then Tuesday at 9, Sunset Vista will be doing theirs as well, so we're excited about that as well. So that concludes. Oh, I do want to make one announcement. Behind us, I don't want to forget that, is Smith artwork. It's absolutely beautiful, so we thank Smith for that. And also I'd like to just recognize, because I think I don't do a good enough job at this. We have an art teacher, Marcus McCarty, who is at Smith. He's a music teacher, but he has a practical art display, and it's off Central, and he has I'm going to pass this around so you can see it. He has some different nights in November in which he'll be showing his artwork, but that's just another talent we have in Glendale that we need to make sure that we are sharing with our community, so I'll pass that around for you as well. That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Great. Okay, we'll go to board reports then. Ms. Smith, would you like to start?
Sure. I just want to thank all the staff and committee members that have been out on their own time talking to our community about the bonds and the overrides, and so I'm grateful that at this point that they both passed. It was a lot of work, and it needed to be done for them to pass. And that's it.
Good. Mr. Obama?
Yes, thank you. We're under the weather here, but So I'm really happy that the override and the bond passed, the override is continuing to pass. So, but really, I really feel that those dollars are going to demonstrate the work that our facilities and our teachers can do with the right dollars in their hands and at their disposal, respectfully. So I can't wait to see the work that our team is going to put together with those dollars. And then lastly, I just want to announce that, I guess it'll help if it's on, huh? My council office has partnered with Glendale Elementary School District, specifically Imes Elementary School. We are hosting the first annual community Thanksgiving event, and it'll be free to the community, so we'll make sure that the superintendent has those flyers, and everyone in the room here is welcome. We're going to feed as many people as we can. It'll be October 20th from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.
November 20th?
November, thank you. November 20th, 2018 at Imes Elementary School from 4:30 to 7:30. And please join us, and we'll make sure you get the electronic version, the paper version. So everybody's welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Adama. We greatly appreciate that.
All right, Ms. Bartels?
Well, again, thank you to the community. I know Ms. Smith and I personally, we're campaigning for ourselves, but we're also campaigning on behalf of the district too. And, really didn't get any negative feedback from anybody that we talked to, at least anyway. And I Red for Ed last year helped to bring the shortcomings right now of the funding for our schools to light. And I am appreciative of that movement. And I'm excited for the positive things we'll be able to do with those funds. One, keeping the override dollars in place, and two, doing the projects that we've needed to address for quite some time.
Ms. Pimentel?
I'd like to tell Sunset Vista, they had a fall festival a couple weeks ago. Mrs. Bartels was there as well. And I wish I could have seen that haunted house. All I saw was the line. And the line was at least 100 people deep, and I wasn't going to wait. And so I apologize to Mr. Quintana and all the other staff there. It looked amazing. And it was packed, and they were doing a great job. So I wish I could have gotten around to a couple of the other ones, but that was the one I got to. I'd like to say congratulations to Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Bartels on your reelection. And to everybody, again, in the community that worked for the bond and override. I have friends who are teachers in other districts that are disappointed it didn't pass in theirs. So we may be getting some teachers because of that. They're looking for interesting places to be where the community values their staff, and we are definitely that community. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Be safe wherever you're going to go and wherever you're going to be, and enjoy yourselves and your family.
All right, good. Yes, ditto on everything. We have such a great community that passed our bond and override. That was a lot to ask, and I feel bad for the districts that didn't pass theirs, and I was shocked at Peoria didn't pass theirs. So we were very blessed and lucky that we have the community that we do. And thanks to all of you that got out and canvassed for that passage of the bond and override. I also just want to mention that I've been volunteering in the bilingual classroom at Horizon, the English part, just for an hour. It's enough with kindergarten. I go home exhausted. And kindergarten teachers do it. But it was exciting this last Tuesday because it was the first time that some of the kids, when we were doing something, they were naming things in Spanish finally. I was like, wow. And they told me what colors I had on in Spanish. I didn't even ask them. They just came out and said it. So they're catching on, and that was really exciting. So I just thought I would pass that on. But again, thank you for everything you've done, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families, and eat a lot. With that, I'll need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Have a good evening.